The movie revolves around a family from rural Turkey. It includes a domineering man named Bekir, his wife Havia, and their 3 children Kadir, Saliha, and Yusuf. Bekir is a very demanding man, and he runs the family with an iron fist. For some reason, he is unusually strict with his eldest son Kadir, while more kind to the younger one, Yusuf. He also has a passion for making videos, and in his free time he likes to film things around his farm in his camera. In the first scene, Bekir's friend visits his farm all the way from Germany. He is there to talk about his nephew, Camille, who has recently become an orphan after his parents passed away. The man requests Bekir to keep Camille with him, saying the boy is very good at farm work. Bekir thinks for a while and agrees, because he too was an orphan once. From that day onwards, he starts raising the boy along with his kids. Later, it is revealed that Camille and Saliha are good friends, and they are in fact dating. Genki, as Bekir falls asleep on the couch watching TV, Saliha covertly sneaks out of the house and meets Camille in the barn. The two flirt and make love there. Meanwhile, Kadir takes advantage of his sleeping father by bringing out his expensive camera and playing with it. However, when Saliha returns, she inadvertently wakes their father up and he catches Kadir red-handed, playing with the camera. Furious, he seizes the camera and beats up the boy aggressively. Following this, Bekir returns to his room and tries to have coitus with Havia, but she turns down his advances. It is clear that she is tired of her husband's brutal behavior towards their women. She also calls him out for being a cheater, and in response, Bekir says that he goes to brothels because of the fact that his own wife doesn't want to have intercourse with him. Then he tells Havia to be grateful, as he doesn't beat her like most Turkish husbands do. Hearing this, Havia becomes upset, prompting her to break down in tears. The following day, as Bekir is working in the field with Camille, he asks the boy to start calling him father. The latter becomes emotional and happily says yes. Meanwhile, with Bekir away, Saliha plays loud music and dances with Yusuf at home. But this only annoys their mother, who angrily shuts the music down. She then reprimands Saliha for being a bad influence on her brother, and asks her to be more thoughtful next time. That night during dinner, Kadir asks his father if he will send them to college. The question is an innocent one, but it is enough to annoy the old man, who says that Kadir is not made for college. He then asks his daughter if she wants to go to college, but afraid of her father, Saliha replies that she wants to stay in the village with him. Meanwhile, because of his growing closeness with Bekir, Saliha's relationship with Camille starts to fall apart. This also has an effect on Bekir's relationship with his other children, as he starts prioritizing the new boy over them. One day, Kadir plays a harmless prank on Camille by spraying him with a water hose. Unfortunately, this infuriates Bekir, and he decides to punish his elder son. He grabs his camera and asks Camille to spray Kadir with water in retribution. When the orphan boy hesitates to oblige, Bekir takes it upon himself to humiliate his son by drenching him and filming the whole thing. Sick prank, it'll go viral on YouTube for sure. Soon, Havia arrives and immediately rushes to her son's rescue. She somehow convinces her husband to stop the heinous act. However, he comes up with yet another brutal punishment. Bekir orders a soaking wet Kadir to stand outside in the cold all evening. Even Camille feels bad about the whole incident, so he lets Kadir borrow his warm coat. Later, it starts to rain, and Havia brings Kadir back inside. He changes into warm clothes and watches television with his dad. After a while, the poor boy goes to bed, while Bekir again falls asleep on the couch. Seeing this, an idea strikes Havia's mind to register her protest against Bekir's horrible treatment of their children. She lets him sleep in the cold by opening the window and putting out the fire. The next morning, Bekir falls sick, and the family finally experiences a relatively peaceful day. However, 2 weeks pass by, but he does not recover. Havia suggests calling a doctor, but her stubborn husband refuses to seek professional help. One day, tired of being bedridden all the time, Bekir musters some strength and ventures out to get some fresh air with the help of his favorite son, Yusuf. However, just as he walks a bit further, he starts coughing violently before collapsing on the ground. Sometime later, he sadly passes away. Devastated that her husband died due to her carelessness, Havia relocates the family to Ankara. The movie then fast-forwards 30 years in the future. Kadir, Saliha, and Yusuf are now all grown, and they live distinctive lives of their own. Kadir is now a filmmaker, and he is currently making a movie based on his abusive childhood. For this purpose, he has brought the film crew and his family to their old farm. Havia has agreed to play her own role in the film, but when the village brings back bad memories from her past, she becomes more and more reluctant to act. She also also objects to Kadir recreating the scene from his childhood when Bakir brutally sprayed him with a hose. Havia feels it is disrespectful to Bakir, and she suddenly starts parroting her late husband's talking points, calling Kadir a troublemaker, while calling Yusuf the most well-behaved child. Despite all this, the family, with the help of Saliha's daughter Naz, somehow manages to convince her to act. In its scene, Havia is supposed to feed an ailing Bakir, but when the camera starts rolling, she gets emotional and breaks into tears. As a result, Kadir is forced to stop and he starts feeling terrible, especially when Naz tells him that he will remember making his mother cry when she dies. Later that night, Havia, Naz, and Saliha sit down to talk. They discuss Yusuf's suggestion about selling the farmhouse, but this only makes Havia upset. So, to cheer her up, Naz takes out Kadir's behind-the-scene or BTS camera and starts taking pictures of her grandmother. As they pose, Saliha recalls the moment when she took Bakir to the hospital after he collapsed. Something tells me there will be no happiness in this movie. The following day, Camille also arrives at the farm. It turns out one actor couldn't make it for the shoot, so Kadir roped in Camille in his place. Later, he catches up with Saliha, and by the way they talk, it is clear that the two still have feelings for each other. The movie again flashes back to the past, where a young Saliha is seen sneaking out of the house to confront Camille for ignoring her. She tries getting close to him to save their relationship, but he turns down her advances. Camille didn't want to sever the bond that he has developed with his new father. Back in the present, Kadir films Camille's scene, and after the shot, the two catch up. From their conversation, we get to know that Camille never got married, while Kadir is a divorcee. Later, as Camille proceeds to leave, Kadir asks him to redo the scene. The former asserts that he has to visit the bank urgently, but the arrogant filmmaker refuses to let him go. Amused by Kadir's stubbornness, Camille jokes that he will be sprayed with a hose if he doesn't oblige. He then agrees to finish his part, and Kadir continues filming. However, once everything is wrapped up, it is revealed that Camille's joke hit too close to home, and it makes Kadir tear up. After a few days, Saliha returns back to the city with her mom and daughter, while Kadir stays back to finish his film. Soon, the world is hit with the coronavirus pandemic. Oh god. And Turkey goes into a strict lockdown. The scene then fast-forwards by 2 years where Kadir is seen going through all his recorded footage. When he comes across the BTS video shot by Naz and Havia, he becomes emotional and starts crying. God, jeez. After the lockdown restrictions are loosened up, Yusuf and his family finally arrive at the farmhouse. There, they notice that the lockdown has taken a serious toll on Kadir's health. Yusuf asks him why he still hasn't finished the movie, but the latter refuses to open up. Instead, he reveals that in the last 2 years, he hasn't spoken with either Havia or Saliha. Hearing this, Yusuf is disappointed, and he mentions that the two are coming to the farm soon. During the conversation, Kadir eventually breaks down, and Yusuf comforts his elder brother. He becomes sure that Kadir is hiding something, and it's slowly eating him from the inside. The following day, Saliha, Havia, and Naz arrive at the farm. It's revealed that Havia's condition has worsened as she has developed Alzheimer's. Jacko, dude. She barely recognizes anyone or anything. Meanwhile, Saliha asks her brother about the progress of his movie, and this time, Kadir replies. However, he only says that he has not been able to finish the movie because of several reasons. Elsewhere, Havia has become paranoid, and she chastises her own mirror reflection, calling it a bad girl. Later, Naz visits Kadir in the editing room and expresses concern over his current state. She then asks him about the BTS footage she shot for the movie. However, for some reason, Kadir gets angry and lies to her that he has lost it. Later that night, the three siblings contemplate selling the farmhouse. Yusuf wants to sell the property because he has lost his job due to the pandemic. Saliha and Kadir are opposed to the idea, so Yusuf makes sarcastic comments about the alimony she receives from her ex-husband. This expectedly upsets Saliha, and she calls both of her brothers out for being so clueless about her life. She explains that she has stopped receiving alimony from her ex, and that she too is struggling to pay her bills like everyone else. Hearing this, Yusuf apologizes, but Danny starts making comments about his elder brother. When the situation boils out of hand, Kadir slaps him right across the face. Suddenly, Havia arrives and finally recognizes her children. She recalls the time little Yusuf came running to her to reveal that Bakir had collapsed on the ground. A happy memory at last. The movie then cuts to the past. After Bakir collapsed, the family took him to a hospital, and there, Bakir gained consciousness and told Havia that he won't make it out alive. He tells her that one day their kids will grow up and want to sell their farm, but Havia must never let them. He says he wants his grandchildren to see the farm their granddad built with his bare hands. After Bakir passed away, Havia didn't sell the property, but she didn't stay either. For a new start, she moved the family to Ankara. Saliha protested the decision, but Havia refused to listen to her. Back in the present, after dinner, the family decides to have some fun. Well, really, Yusuf challenges his sister to a dance and plays the song from their childhood which got them in trouble with their mother. The following day, Camille arrives with Bakir's newly refurbished old car. Turns out that Yusuf had put it in for refurbishment and couldn't go to pick it up, so Camille brought it home out of courtesy. He is still the kind and caring gentleman that he used to be. Camille then reveals that Kadir regularly visits his dad's grave, apparently because he misses him. This comes as a surprise to the other siblings, as Kadir and their dad had a strained relationship. Later, the entire family sits for lunch, where Javier recognizes Camille and slowly walks over to him. Then, all of a sudden, she starts attacking him for fooling around with Saliha as a child. It turns out it was actually Javier who had warned Camille against pursuing a relationship with Saliha, which led to the breakdown of their relationship. Meanwhile, Naz hangs around in Kadir's editing room, and there she comes across the distressing footage of Bakir hosing Kadir down with water. In the next scene, Camille gets ready to leave, and Saliha packs him dinner, but after saying his goodbyes and walking a distance, he returns back. He then confesses to Saliha that when she was in the last year of college, he had traveled to Ankara to find her. He eventually located her, but decided to leave her alone because she seemed happy in life without him around. This makes Saliha emotional, as she is once again reminded how different her life would have been with Camille. Meanwhile, Naz confronts Kadir in his room and asks him if his childhood was troubled. With tears in his eyes, he says, "The hell do you think?" but also mentions that he has moved on from it. Following this, Naz inquires if he has really lost the BTS footage, and when Kadir finally comes clean, she rushes to the editing room. She eventually finds the camera hidden in a drawer and plays it. The commotion attracts the attention of Saliha and Yusuf, who also gather around the screen. In a video, Javier recalls the night before Bakir fell sick. She reveals that she had slipped some sleeping pills in Bakir's tea and let him sleep in the cold without fire and open windows. Javier says that if Bakir wasn't drugged, he would have woken up and closed the windows. After watching the entire video, Naz watches in astonishment as Javier breaks into tears, regretting giving the sleeping pills to her husband. The movie ends as Kadir also arrives to confirm that Javier had a role in their father's death. I'm gonna go take a cold shower. I'm gonna go take a cold shower now. What? See ya? To you.